Hi, sweet friends. I'm Emma Watterson, hostess of Root Tips to Wingtips Health Podcast, where you'll learn recipes and health tips to stay balanced and have a healthy mind, body, and soul. I'm a certified health coach and specialize in NLP, hypnotherapy, energy work, and healing. Each week, we will dive into health topics to discuss ideal mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. Let's jump in.
Well, wonderful. Welcome, everyone, back to another session of Root Tips to Wingtips Health Coach podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Meena Ruchi, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to talk with her today and get a chance for both of us to get to know each other a little bit more. So, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Emma.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to have you here and such a great way to connect. I love meeting new friends through good friends.
Me too. It's the best.
So I wanted to get a chance, if you could introduce yourself, just let us get a chance to know who you are and give a brief overview of what you do.
Yeah. So, as you said, my name is Meena Ruchi, and I'm an Akashic Record Reader and a meditation instructor. And I love helping people cultivate calmness and clarity so that they can fully and more deeply express their purpose and potential. And the way I do that is by working with people, mostly one-on-one, using a modality called the Akashic Records. And of course, I also teach meditation. And it's through this mysterious modality of the Akashic Records that I help people gain a new perspective on their most burning existential questions. And the reason I'm such a fangirl of these two tools is because I myself was on a quest of seeking out my purpose for over 10 years. And I finally found that connection that I was seeking for so long through the Akashic Records, and was able to overcome anxiety.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so fantastic. And for those of us who are not as familiar with Akashic Records, can you give us a little bit of an explanation about what those are?
For sure. So and everything that could possibly happen in the future. And so it's the energetic compendium of infinity and eternity, which is so casual. But because it's kind of vague when I describe it that way, the way that I like to picture it is if you could imagine an invisible library in space that has books on every subject you could imagine, including you or your own soul or essence. And an Akashic record reading, when I'm working with someone one-on-one, it's as though we're checking out the book on you, and you have the opportunity to ask questions and gain insight from this elevated perspective. So in a reading, and that's why it's like, if you have big burning existential questions, it's such a cool modality because you can literally ask questions like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What are my gifts? How am I meant to serve? How can I improve my relationships? And things of that nature. And the perspective that comes through is only kind of like, it only flows through when you ask a question. And I think that's something that's so unique about this modality, is that when I open someone's records, the guiding, like most essential, like pillar is consent. So I'm not giving any information. I don't even receive any information until the person asks a question. So I feel like sometimes when you go into readings or experiences like this, there's a fear or an apprehension of like, what are they going to tell me? I'm scared. I don't want to know. And with the Akashic Records, it feels like such a safe and protected system of like, we're not going to tell you anything unless you ask. And sometimes, even when you ask, there's certain information that they don't share because they love to only share the information that is uplifting, relevant, and empowering for you at this moment.
Wow, that is so incredible. And how did you get started? How did you come across, like, what got you on this path?
Yeah. So it's like kind of a tale, so I'll try to keep it brief. But I, as a kid, I always had anxiety and I always wanted to know why I was here from a pretty young age. So those two things, the anxiety mixed with this like curiosity and like seeker's heart for purpose, kind of mixed together to like create this sense of urgency of like, I need to know why I'm here. I don't want to waste any time. I like had this sense like I can't waste any time for whatever reason. And so I would like read all kinds of self-help books. I would dabble with astrology, anything related to personality or purpose. I was just like so intrigued as a kid. So that was my hobby, was kind of like personal development and like seeking purpose. So that was just something I did for fun. And when I went to college, the anxiety that I had struggled with my whole life got very intense. And I became addicted to my work more so than I was. I think it became more apparent and more harmful than it was when I was a kid because I was already like kind of intense about my work and like getting stuff done because of that urgency. So I was working a lot, addicted to my work, experiencing severe anxiety. I was like burning out. My health was deteriorating, all kinds of stuff. And on top of that, that question of like, why am I here really took on a desperate tone. It was like, I need to figure this out right now. And I continued like seeking and like listening to all kinds of stuff just on the side, like just it was like less for fun and more out of like a desperate need at that point. And I couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't figure out. Nothing really clicked as like, oh, okay, I finally feel a sense of purpose. And so it was like I hadn't fully given up on it, but that question took on like a really like dark and somber kind of tone. And it became like, not why am I here? It was like, why am I here? I don't need to be here anymore. I don't understand why I'm here. And without that, like, there was nothing driving me except my own fear. And so it became difficult to carry on with a sense of like levity and joy and lightheartedness. And so everything kind of just like sank downward emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It was like I was descending into despair. And I carried on because it was that fear, that like deep urgency and like terror that I would die if I didn't get a job that was motivating me. And so I graduated in May of 2020 to just punctuate that whole experience. This is like, it's hilarious and like almost poetic now to kind of just see how that entire like long, like years and years I was in school just ended that way. And my whole goal in life was to get a job. And all the companies I was interviewing with went on a hiring freeze. So I had nothing I could do because I finished my thesis and no one was hiring. So I was like, I need something to kill the time. And I very serendipitously like stumbled upon this course about the Akashic Records. And I remember I had like taken multiple courses at that time, again, just as like for fun. But there was something about this that was different. And it was the only time in my life where I was considering doing something. When I would think about taking this course, I felt like a magnetic pull in my stomach. It was like I was being pulled forward anytime I thought about it. And I was like, oh, that's so cool and weird. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I didn't think it would work because when you hear that description that I said at the beginning, it does not sound like a real thing at all. It sounds like a joke. So I was like, oh, this will be fun. So it was like, I totally didn't think it was a thing. And at the same time, I really hoped it was a real thing. So I was like, we'll just give it a shot, whatever. I have nothing else to do anyway. So I took this course and it was like about how to read the Akashic Records, which I thought was fascinating that, you could just learn how to do this. And my whole life, I wanted to be like a psychic and an intuitive. And I was so bummed that I didn't have that ability. So I was like, oh, that'll be fun if you can just learn how to do this. And over time, like I began to be able to like connect to the records. And I was completely blown away when it actually worked. So
Wow.
there was this day when it was early on in the practice, I was still learning, very, very new at it. And I was using the Akashic Records as like it's so goofy, but I was using it kind of as a job search engine. So anytime I would come across a listing, I would ask the records like, okay, what about this job? What about this job? Like, what are the possibilities of this? Which is such a kind of funny way to use them. And there was one day I was kind of doing that. And I asked the question, what are the possibilities of my artistic career? Because the title of the job I was searching for was technical artist. But instead of artistic, I accidentally said Akashic. And that was such a game changer, Emma. It was the craziest moment of my life. It was a complete Freudian slip. And what I experienced through the records, through that like completely accidental question, was through the records, I could feel like it was like the sky parted. And through these like clouds came this like radiant white light. And it was like out of a movie or something. It was so cheesy. And this like radiant white light filled up the whole space within the records. And it's like, that's all that there was. It was so bright. It was so bright. And it just was all encompassing. And I could feel it within and without. There was like no separation between my being and the experience, the vibration of this light. And I was not expecting that at all. And as I was kind of like soaking it in, I was so like taken aback. I heard the keepers of the records say, we've been waiting for you to ask. So it's when you ask a powerful question, you receive a powerful answer. And that was a moment that really changed the direction of my life.
Wow, what an incredible journey. I love that I mean, even with a simple Freudian slip, like you said, it was kind of meant to be. Like
Yeah.
I I love how they guided you, they almost guided you there to ask
Right.
that question.
Yeah.
It's and I think it's so it's almost magical, like how it all works out. And I just what a beautiful journey. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, even telling the story now, it's like I've shared that story multiple times, but it is still just like it blows me away. I'm like, wow. It felt like divine intervention because it never crossed my mind that that could be a job. That's why I didn't ask the question. It did not occur to me. In my wildest dreams, I couldn't fathom that this was a possibility for me. And so I'm very grateful for that like little slip that happened.
That's awesome. What a cool journey. That's so great. Now, are there So if people want to reach out and get in touch with you and they're interested in working with you, what kind of services do you provide?
Yeah. So I teach a free meditation class once a month. So that's always like a really lovely way to kind of dip your toes in. And in that class, I open the records and share a little bit from the Akashic Records, just a little bit more broadly on a specific topic. And then I lead a guided meditation, and there's time to connect and chat afterwards. So that's always a good entry point if you're curious. And I also, if you know you want to dive deeper and you know you have big questions, then I offer Akashic record readings. And those are great if you like have questions about purpose and potential and your gifts. And then if you really want to go deep, I work with people in 5-month containers. So it's 5 readings over 5 months. And the reason they're spaced out that way is because a lot of information can come through in a single reading. So it gives plenty of time to kind of process what came through, sit with it, and then think of what you'd want to explore in the next session. And in between, in those longer containers, I call that package the Seeker's Delight. So in the Seeker's Delight, in between sessions, I'm also helping you cultivate your own personal meditation practice, a daily practice. So if you don't know how to meditate at all, or if you've tried meditation and it's not really sticking, or you just want to go deeper into an existing practice, that like using those two tools together, I have found it to be so powerful in cultivating a deeper connection to yourself. And I think it's when we're connected to ourselves that our radiance really shines through effortlessly. And so it's within that container is my favorite thing that I offer. Because as you do, it's kind of like if you do one reading, the most pressing questions that people have is like, what's my purpose? What are my gifts? And it's all the juicy, fun stuff. And then it's like, when you know that, it can be so empowering, and people certainly get a ton out of a single reading. But sometimes, even when we know our potential, we know our purpose, we know our gifts, we feel connected to that, we still are not fully leaning into it. So sometimes there's these inner blocks that are subconsciously preventing us from fully going for it. And so when I work with someone long term, it's not just connecting to the gifts and potentials, it's also bringing awareness, illuminating any inner blocks that might be there, and like naturally, easily dispelling them. And one of the ways I kind of sum up the magic of the records is through this like old adage. It's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so it's really what the records are doing. They're helping us illuminate what's within us, the lightness, the darkness, the blocks, and the gifts. And they're helping us to see it differently. And so it's like when you look at those like blocks, as we call them, from a different perspective, sometimes they dispel really naturally. And some of them are a little bit stickier, and that's where the meditation practice comes in. So it's the records and the meditation combined help you kind of dispel some of those old, really stuck beliefs and things that might be holding you back. So that deeper container is perfect if you feel a little bit stuck and you're not sure why.
Wow, that's really amazing, and it's wonderful that you have everything from the free meditation courses of like kind of dipping your toe into the water, all the way up through really diving deep and getting those deeper questions answered. And I love that you space things out. So, because I can imagine that's a lot of information to receive at one time. If you were like, I would just want it all now, and and I think that's a beautiful way to be able to process and understand and kind of implement. Yes, you can check a book out from the library, though. Are you applying that knowledge and those learnings that you received to your life? And I think that's what a beautiful thing, and for you to be able to support them. through that journey too. And you're almost like, it's almost like you're an interpreter of
Yeah.
everything. So that's beautiful. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Through my website, which is meenaruchi.com. And there I have lots of like fun goodies there. So that's the best way. There's a contact option if you want to send me a message. And I have like a blog with tons of videos on there. I have videos explaining what the records are and what a reading is. And my favorite new thing that I'm offering there is I have a free guided visualization channeled from the Akashic Records that's all about helping you connect to your heart's desires. So that's like such a lush and like sweet little audio. So that's, yeah, and that's on there as a free gift. And you can find that at meenaruchi.com/free. But yeah, that's the best way to kind of stay connected is through my website. And I'm also on Instagram, which is at Meena Ruchi Magic.
Oh, I love that. What fun. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing this energy in this beautiful space. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience today?
I always love to share that wherever you are, wherever you might be, you are deeply and inherently valuable, and your purpose is not hiding from you.
Wow, what a beautiful message. And I feel like that's so needed right now, especially with how everything has been the last couple of years. So just knowing that we're all valuable in our own unique and beautiful way.
Yeah.
So, wow. Well, thank you so much. And I'll make sure that your links are posted. With everything. And thank you again for sharing your beautiful journey and this beautiful space with me today. And I look forward to catching up again with you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a delight.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode and sharing this space and time with me. I hope you got some great new insights. And if you did, please leave a review, add a comment, question, and/or suggestion, and share with a friend.